I never would have thought that apple hunting would lead us to an adventure like this. This is crazy. Oh my gosh. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. We're out on another apple hunting adventure. Today brings us out into the middle of absolutely nowhere. I mean, I don't quite think the camera can capture the magnitude of just how vast. I mean, to put this into perspective, that tree line behind us is almost 5 miles away. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. It just keeps getting more and more open. It's so hard to imagine how remote you can get in Michigan. It doesn't seem like a place that just would not have any civilization. This is oh my gosh, Hannah, look. It just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. So what brings us to the middle of absolutely nowhere? Well, nothing other than a very rare apple. That's right, we were reached out to by a viewer of the show. His family's owned the property for over 100 years, and they had quite a few apples that were growing, but there was I would call it like a windrow, a property line that essentially a fence line that had some wild apples growing. And he made a really interesting discovery when he cut open one of the apples. And I'll throw a picture of the apple up. I'll have him send me a picture. We'll throw it up in the video because the apple is very, very unique. In fact, so unique, it caused us to take over a 2-hour drive to get here because you just don't see it all that often. And it's a red fleshed apple, but not a true red fleshed apple. I'll throw another picture up. I'll have Hannah throw up another picture of a true red fleshed apple. Those are rare in their own unique way. There's only, in my knowledge, about 3 to 5 varieties of commercially available scion wood that you can find that has a mottled flesh. Mottled flesh being part red, part white. There's a couple, there's one called a raspberry pippin, but there's quite a few other varieties of apples that are either all red or all white, but it's very rare to find the two blending. And that is why, because it's so incredibly rare that now we are finding a seedling of some apples that have crossed, leading to a mottled flesh apple. Very incredibly rare. So rare, that's why we came to the middle of nowhere. If we're open to walking, four-wheelers, whatever you want to do. Let's do
the four-wheeler.
Okay.
It would be a lot quicker.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me turn them around and...
Yeah, we're gonna take four-wheelers. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so to get out of neutral into drive.
Push up.
Just push up?
Yeah.
Gotcha. That way I'll see if you guys start to get stuck, I'll know to gun it, because I don't want to get this sucker stuck.
Oh, they're lighting up. I got mine pick them up.
Okay, all right, yeah. Woo! We went from 20 minutes ago, we were driving in the middle of nowhere, and now we're riding four-wheelers with people we met 5 minutes ago. Talk about wild. So when we're talking about new growth, even on an old tree like this tree is probably, I don't know, at least based on the trunk size, I would say minimum of 50 up to maybe 75.
66.
Yeah.
And this tree's been here long before that.
Really?
Yeah.
So sometimes they don't get quite as wide if they're neglected, like if they're not fertilized regularly and stuff like that. They don't get as hefty. But even on an old tree like this, you still get new growth. Now this new growth, this is all old and dead, obviously. Yeah. But this tree will produce lots of what's called whips. And these whips are long, red, usually they're red. And so you can come in here, and if we were to clip this off, you'll notice super long. Yeah. And the reason why I call it whips is because it's whippy. And all of this right here, this is all your growth. You can come in here, there's another beautiful one up in here, right here. Beautiful, like really long. You can tell the health of the tree based on the size of the whip. Really? And this is, all. Yeah.
So that all grew in 1 year?
1 year growth. Okay. This is 2 years. So this right here is probably 3-year growth. Could be 2, sometimes it's more, depending on how long the season is, sometimes they can heal and start to grow again. Wow. So depending on, but typically we'd come in here, cut that off, and then for simplicity's sake to shorten things up, we just kind of cut those because it makes it impossible to carry. So like on this, I'm looking for that new growth. And I'll tell you, it would be advantageous for you to come out and cut the grapevines. Yeah. Because the grapevines will kill it off faster than age will.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna come and cut all these dead branches down.
Once you see an apple tree, you'll never look at it the same way again.
Probably not.
And once you see the new growth, you'll also never look at new growth the same way again either, because you'll see it's impossible to unsee. So I gotta do one of those because it's a little wonky there. There you go. Just a little bit of snow, and then yeah, throw that in there, and then it'll create humidity. Throw that in the fridge until grafting time.
And they won't get moldy or anything?
Nope, they won't get moldy as long as they're kept above 32 or below 45. So where are we going for the next one?
Down that way.
Down this way.
Walk on.
It is suffering from severe fire blight. It is producing very little new growth. Basically, here's how you tell the health of the tree. This right here, it is trying to essentially outgrow the damage. But every time it scars, it only grows a little bit. And then it scars, it only grows a little bit. This tree, the new growth, I don't doubt that it probably produces good apples on that old growth that's taller, but a lot of this stuff down here, it's so laden with the lichen that it just can't, it really has a hard time outgrowing it. So what you could do, here, this would be my best advice. If you wanted to really save this tree, this would be my best advice you could possibly do, and it seems crazy, but I'd come in here at like slightly above head height, with a chainsaw, chop every bit down completely.
Really?
What it's gonna do is it'll force it, all the above growth that's just kind of being okay alive, it's gonna force one last big push of energy, and you're going to get those whips like we got off that tree, you'll get 150, 200 whips off this.
Really?
Maybe even more. It'll just push the most profuse growth, and then at that point you can do more grafts, or you can start to train that new growth, because it's just too much tree to sustain in the condition that it's in. All right, you guys, so we are at the tree right here. So this is the tree that we drove 2 hours for. And believe it or not, this tree has actually grown next to another tree. There's another apple tree over here that is a completely different variety. And so without the property owner being able to tell us what was what, this never would have happened. Sometimes people will tell us, hey, go here, there's an apple tree, you'll love it, it looks like this. And a lot of times you can find them, but man, I would have missed it. So we're gonna take some cuttings. Now, here's the very exciting thing is that in a lot of cases, these old trees don't have as much new growth, but there's not a lot of whips being produced up here close to the trunk. So what it forces us to do is to go outward a little bit, and we can actually go out to the end of these branch tips, and there's quite a bit of new growth off the branch tips, which is great. And so we can actually come in here and clip all these, and this is really great end tip growth that still is just as vigorous, just as graftable as some of the others. They're just not quite as long. You get kind of a different grafting style here, or a different scion style, I should say. My preferred scion style are the water sprouts, because they're super long, they're super vigorous, they just have tons you can graft on. These are the next best option, and that's the growth tips. So we want to make sure, because there's two trees, we're gonna focus our attention on this side as much as possible so we don't get mixed up. So it's one of those things where I'm not much of a expert tree climber, but if you could bend them down enough to where you could get those top branches, those are some of the best scions on the whole tree. Yeah, see, they're just not, they're not quite limber enough to pull. Right. But you see, at the very, very tip top of the tree,
yeah, I see that one.
They curve up, and they're super straight. Yeah. That's about as perfect a scion as you can ask for from growth tip. There's a few over here. I'll get your friend, because there's some right here. But this stuff, it's not incredibly vigorous like the other stuff is, but it still will graft up just fine. Look at this one. Look at that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is unbelievable. I mean, that right there that's crazy. Not all this you can use because it's some of it's 3-year growth, but it's still got that tender red color, which you can't graft. If it starts to get bark on it, you can't graft it. There. I need this one. Here, Doug, if you want to hold those are all good. And then
I'll let you trim them up here though.
And then just gotta get this. There we go. This has got all the new growth on it. I'll let these fall.
You're gonna grab those. I mean, they're the good ones.
Yeah, these ones here. I just let them fall while I'm holding the branch, because otherwise
you're gonna lose it again.
It's gonna whip up in my face. There's that. Those are all really good.
Yeah, you say so.
Yeah, those are all really good.
You're the boss here.
Yeah, those are all. There we go. So there. So now And this, you can cut that off. 1, 2, 3, plenty. Like plenty. There's so many stumps in there. It's just astounding.
I'm saying this tree's been here since I've been a kid, so we just drove around it always when we were working the farm. So.
Now the last thing too, when you graft, you always want to make sure the buds are facing up.
Oh yeah.
Because if you graft them the other way, they get a little confused and they won't work. I've made that mistake a couple times. So we're just driving home, found a nice beautiful apple tree on the side of the road here. Nice seedling apple. So we're just gonna add that to the collection. And I think that just about wraps it up for today's trip. Thank you guys so much for coming along. I also want to give a big thank you to Doug for taking us around. That was just such an incredible time. That was certainly a memory I will not forget for a very long time. And got some great stuff. Got some great stuff that I think is going to be amazing at the farm. So I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you all on the next episode. Take care. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care.